Hello and welcome in, you guys. We got the post-game show for One Piece chapter 1146 here today. How this works is that we will go through the comment section for the full spoiler video and just read what everybody is theorizing about, what they're talking about, and all of that good stuff. So with that being said, let's just get right to it. All right. So, top comment says, Gunko has so many different abilities with her arrows. So OP, I love it. Me too. I love that so far she's only shown devil fruit abilities. Like, she has yet to show us Haki. She hasn't even shown us an awakening yet. And she still has Imu Gorosei powers on top of that. So it's pretty insane what Gunko has been able to showcase in just a single freaking chapter. Right below, they say, I'm so happy Gunko didn't start glazing Brook on sight. And this is one I liked as well. And it's funny because leading up to this chapter, I expected Gunko to glaze Brook. I was expecting a crazy gag scenario where Gunko would see Brook and then they have this weird interaction, but it didn't happen. You know, my expectations were shattered by this chapter even. And the more I sat with that thought, the more I realized that that's a good thing, right? This is the first time the God Knights are running into the Straw Hat crew. Do we want that to really be a gag moment where Gunko can't go all out because their idol is there? And I realized that I wouldn't want that. And instead, I really enjoyed what we had this week where Gunko just cooked all of them. You know, Gunko did not pay Brook any freaking mind whatsoever. So with that being said though, I do still think there will be some relevancy between Gunko and Brook. Maybe she just hasn't connected it yet. Maybe she does connect it, but she just doesn't care. It's one of those things where it could be like Gunko separates the art from the artist. She loves his music, but she doesn't care for a lowly human. If you can call Brook a human. Sai is acting like he ain't mad about Ange not being evil. You called me out. Congratulations. Here's the thing. This chapter was fantastic. As a villain enjoyer, this week, I was doing great. I am riding a high. Please do not remind me of my failed Ange theory. But here's the thing, you know, we saw the chapter, we saw what Ange was looking like after the Killingham fight. And if I really wanted to go crazy, if I wanted to cope, I could say that she's acting. She's fibbing. There is no sleep mode body jutsu that Killingham's performing on her. No. They're acting. Ange doesn't have a damn scratch on her. Suspicious? I think so. I mean, look at Saul. Look at Kiba. Look at the Straw Hats. Those guys, my God, they got punchy as kicks. They got thorned up, slammed against walls. But Ange is the one person that came out of this scot-free. Weird? I think so. And also, all I gotta say, it's a little bit sus that Killingham was the one who confronted her and Kiba. Considering the fact that Ange is the one who made the kids draw nightmares. I mean, is something here? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but if I wanted to cope, I could definitely cope. Right below, they say, this scene with Loki and Luffy reminded me of Kid and Luffy in Udon. Yeah, you're right, huh? How many people have gotten fat with Luffy before? Minus the Straw Hats. Is it really just Kid? Did Law ever do that? We've been with Law for like freaking 300 chapters. I don't think we ever got fat with Law. Yeah, huh? Maybe this is like I don't know what to call this character, right? This character trope. But I do think Kid and Loki fall within it. Kind of like the weird rival category. So yeah, I really like that. I like that you brought that up. And you know, speaking of Kid, where's that guy? Am I right? Where is he? Right down below, they say the God Knights are no joke. They really need the Monster Trio and Loki up there. Yes, they do. They are no joke at all. And now more than ever, I kind of want to see the Monster Trio run up there and fight. Because beforehand, you know, on Egghead, in Wano, I always wanted to see the other Straw Hats fight. You know, I wanted to see how Robin did. I wanted to see how Brook did, Jinbei, etc. But now I'm like, yo, these guys are kind of tough. You know, these guys are looking pretty damn good. So I do want to throw the Straw Hats' finest at them. I want to see how Luffy does. Zoro, Sanji, and Loki, of course. You know, Loki's like a honorary Straw Hat right now because he's so buddy-buddy with Luffy. And yeah, you know, you're missing one person in here, but Scopper as well. You know, I think a lot of people want to see what Scopper's all about. Will he have his Marco moment where he stalls out the God Knights while the Straw Hats make their entrance? I think so, but we will see. Brooke says, but I wrote that song and you're wearing panties. Gunko says, I'm sorry. I'm trying to start the end times with my peeps, yeah? I wonder if Gunko would have had a reaction if Brooke whipped out the guitar. Because I noticed that in this chapter. You know, Brooke's over here whipping out the cane sword, you know, trying to stab her, poke her a little bit. But in reality, maybe it would have been better if Brooke whipped out the song New World, you know, the song that she just listened to, or maybe a new unreleased mixtape. That would have been pretty cool, right? I want to see what happens when Brooke starts singing a little bit. And also, funny enough, now that I think about it, Gunko loves music, but she also is scared of Sun God Nika, who is all about music and drum beats. I wonder what's up there, you know, like, what's going on with Gunko? Gunko's fruit is the concept of arrows, which makes it so versatile, and I love it, yes. And I'm kind of curious now too, you know, when we first saw her abilities, after we realized that it wasn't the bandage fruit or the mummy no mi, and it is just straight arrows, what other abilities can we put under her belt? Like, what else can arrows do? Because I feel like she pretty much utilized everything at this point, right? I mean, she spawned arrows out of the ground, she's choked people, she's redirected attacks, she's tugged people in different directions. She's sped herself up. She created giant arrow boots, an arrow bird. What is left in her pocket that she could whip out? Maybe an awakening? But in my opinion, she's kind of already done that when she was fighting Loki. Well, you know, fights in quotation marks. But when she was going against Loki, when she was walking, we did see arrows like, you know, spawning out of shadows. And that's kind of like an awakening where you turn your environment into X thing. So yeah, I wonder what else could happen. Maybe she turns the Yggdrasil tree into a giant arrow? No, that'd be too crazy. Yeah, I'm not really too sure what an arrow awakening would look like at this point. Maybe it's like an arrow world where there's arrows all over the ground and you step and you start getting like turned around maybe? I don't know. I feel like we're getting ready for a Loki and Luffy double Nika debut. That is why they're specifically by themselves and are eating together, yes. And the cool thing about this as well is that it could make sense if they just both come in and do a dual punch, because Luffy can turn himself into a giant. You know, Luffy hasn't exactly, you know, hit a limit when it comes to how big he can grow in Gear 5th. Like, we saw him versus Kaido. I mean, he was damn near the size of Onigashima, right? So I am curious to see if him and Loki will come together and do a dual punch. In my opinion, I think it'd be really cool if Luffy did a Hakaku sovereignty with Loki. That'd be really sick. You know, if Harden can't do it with his brother, I want Luffy to do it, man. So, the next comment right below it says, Nami, Brooke, and Jinbei's attacks got redirected, but Usopp actually managed to hit her. Yeah, so keep in mind, these comments were made during the spoiler segment of the week, so we didn't have the chapter or the images yet. And while this comment would have been crazy on Tuesday or Wednesday, now that we have the chapter, we see that Gunko didn't even try to dodge. Like, Usopp pulled it back, he shot it, and then we get a panel of Gunko looking straight at it with her arms crossed, essentially. So she did not care whatsoever. I think she just wanted to flex her regeneration abilities. And that's probably what Oda wanted to do too, right? He wanted to show us that Gunko would survive it anyway. So he's like, yeah, just have Gunko tank it, man. Just have Gunko tank it. Gunko casts Uno Reversal. Yes, she does. And here's the thing though. I do find it a little bit regrettable that none of the Straw Hats that were going against her in this chapter used armament haki. Because I'm really curious to see how that would work, right? Gunko uses the redirection arrow, but your fist is coming at her, and that fist is coated with haki. Like Jinbei, for example, right? If Jinbei coated his fishman karate with haki, would it have worked? Would the arrow still pull him? Or would it be like a tug of war where, you know, she's trying to push him, but Jinbei's trying to fight back a little bit? Like, I'm curious. I'm curious about that. And also, speaking of haki, we haven't seen Gunko coat her arrows in haki yet. That should be possible. We have seen characters in the past that have coded their Devil Fruit powers with haki. I mean, I guess Gear 4th Luffy is a prime example, right? Luffy uses haki all the time in tandem with his transformation, so it should be possible. So I guess it would be like a tug of war, like, oh, you know, whose haki plus Devil Fruit is stronger in this scenario? But yeah, if only we got that. But that is, again, why I am hoping for the Monster Trio to take her on. Or Scopper, you know, Scopper up there as well. Right down here, they say, Gunko, defeating Jinbei with Usopp, Nami, and Brooke as support is kinda crazy, not gonna lie. Yes. The craziest thing is that just they didn't land a single attack on her other than what she wanted to hit her, right? Minus Usopp's Skullgrass Bomb, which she really just tanked. the Straw Hats weren't able to do anything. I mean, hell, when Usopp went in to do a second shot, Gunko did a little spin thing, and she avoided it completely. So Gunko is a really slippery gal. You know, she's kind of like Alvida without the smoothness. So this one here says Killingham may be preparing to broadcast sleep waves across the island instead of anything verbal. That could be it too. Yeah, like now that they have the Denden Mushi, Killingham could just broadcast it, or maybe there's like a sleeping sound that he sings, kind of like Jigglypuff, right? Maybe he's like a Jigglypuff type character where his strongest sleep ability is singing to people. We do know that song and dance is making a comeback in One Piece, so maybe that's it. But now that we have the chapter, we do see that Killingham wants to pass the microphone over to Sommers. So whatever they're going to do, Sommers is going to be the one who speaks it out. I think it could be both though, to be fair, you know, just to give life to this theory still. Maybe Sommers tells them that they're kidnapping the kids, and then next thing you know, Killingham is the one who does the sleep wave ability. This one says, I don't know why, but I picture Elbaf falling like Ba Sing Se did in Avatar The Last Airbender. Ba Sing Se falling. They didn't necessarily fall. If I recall correctly, it's been a while, but I think I watched Avatar last year, or rewatched it. But instead, the government, or the Fire Nation, put Azula in charge. So what would be the equivalent here? Them putting an evil giant in charge? Jarl? Ange? Loki? Hardin? I don't know. But either way, I do expect that once the God Knights leave this island, Elbaf will not be the same. Maybe they are successful and they kidnap the kids, and then the giants start having little mini conflicts within themselves. Like, oh, some giants want to help the world government to get their kids back, and then you have other giants who want to fight the world government because they're holding their kids hostage, right? I don't think by kidnapping the kids, it's just a simple thing where they just work for the WG. I think some giants will push back against that notion. There could be a giant civil war, so to say, which would be perfect for Loki and Hardin. Because those brothers, right, they've been arguing for the longest time. We do know that Hardin's dream is to unite the giants. So maybe this is where his dream comes into play. And maybe this is where Loki starts diverting, or maybe even helping Hardin to an extent, right? To bring all the giants together despite the atrocities that are happening to their kids. Either way, though, I really do hope that the God Knights are successful when it comes to stealing the kids away. Not because I want the kids to die, mind you, but I think it would just be really interesting to see what happens next, right? The Straw Hats don't often lose in situations like this, so if we do lose, I want to see how we handle the fallout. I'd be really interested to see how that pushes the story forward. How do the Straw Hats react? How does Hardin react? And all that good stuff. And also, what are Shanks' thoughts, right? Because Shanks chills here pretty often, so hopefully we get like a Shanks page or chapter where he learns about all the shenanigans here in Elbaf, and he's like, like Luffy has this, or maybe, oh, I should go back to Elbaf because it's in such turmoil. I think losing here would be the most entertaining outcome. The next comment says, so both Kuma and Gunko can deflect attacks. The Ginny clone theory just won't go away. Yeah, it's persisting. Just like Ange is evil, the Ginny clone theory is persisting throughout the ages. Here's the thing. My thoughts on the Ginny clone theory are that it's not a bad theory. And I actually enjoy a lot of aspects of it. I like the fact that Kuma would be a pacifista who is mass reproduced and he wants to do good. And then on the other end, you have Ginny, who is also being mass reproduced, but she's used for war, right? Pacifista, Gunko, and Gunko translates to army child, military child. It's like right there. I like that aspect of it, but for me, it's just kind of odd if that was true, at least right now. Because Gunko truly does see herself as a god knight, a celestial dragon god. Of course, she doesn't have the same title, but she has the attitude. And the other holy knights are treating her with a good amount of respect. And we've seen how celestial dragons treated the pacifista. We've seen how celestial dragons treat everyday people. So would they welcome an army clone, a lowly commoner clone, with such respect? I think that's where I'm getting hung up, but like I said, it's not a bad theory. I do enjoy it. I just need a little bit more. I just need a little push in that direction to get me going. Like, for example, hair color. We need to know this clone, we need to know Gunko's hair color because we are guessing. I've seen pink, I've seen orange, I've seen yellow, I've seen blonde, I've seen white. What is the hair color, Oda? Give it to us. It's kind of like Loki, right? When we first saw Loki, a lot of people were giving him orange or, you know, blonde, maybe even white, red, black even. And then we get the volume cover and Oda paints this guy purple, right? Like, I gotta know. I gotta know. This comment says, so Gunko has vector manipulation, Soul Eater for the win. Yes, a lot of people are making the Soul Eater comparison. They're saying she's just like a Medusa. Personally, I have not watched Soul Eater in a very long time. I don't remember pretty much anything of it, but I do remember enjoying it to a good extent. So yeah, I went back, I looked up Medusa, I refreshed my memory a little bit, and she pretty much is like a Medusa from Soul Eater. This one says, I believe this arc is more focused on raising the rest of the Straw Hats level. Oh, which is why the monster trio, along with Loki, have taken a back seat until things really get out of control. I don't think that's bad. I think the problem with this, which of course, like I said, these are based off the spoilers, are that I don't really know how the Straw Hats are gonna raise their level before everything hits the fan. Because in my opinion, everything's already hit the fan. The kids almost already died to a fire. The kids are still walking towards the ship. We have no real way to stop the God Knights yet. And the Straw Hats just got knocked off the Colin ship. You know, all four of the Straw Hats that were on board, knocked off. Frankie's not even here yet. Robin and Chopper are cowering in fear because Saul is about to die. You know, like, I don't think this is where we raise the Straw Hats level. Maybe post Elbaf. I think post Elbaf, we will have time to train up a little bit. But right now, it's more of a reality check, man, which could be what you mean as well, right? Maybe also mean like after this arc. But yeah, dude, these Straw Hats are not looking too good. Not looking too good at all. So this comment, kind of a longer one, all right. They say, what if Harald is pro Elbaf and made a deal with the WG, but then started feeling some type of way about it? Hence, him creating the path towards peace and not warriors to make them unattractive to the world government because he knew how powerful they are and felt they couldn't defeat them. Loki found out and felt betrayed, but also disagreed and felt that they should take the fight straight to the world government instead of just nerfing their own power and hiding like cowards, especially since Rox is his influence. I like that. I like that you tied in Loki and his idol into this theory. And yeah, I think this is the most straightforward option. Harald was pro Elbaf. He's just looking out for the future generations. He made a deal with the world government, and then he realized that that deal might have been bad. Maybe he realized that, yeah, I don't want the giants to fight anymore. You know, I want peace here in the world. Or maybe he had some weird wake-up call, because we do have to remember that the books of Ohara ended up in Elbaf 20 years ago. Maybe that is when Harald realized that the world is going astray. He realized, just like Olvia, Clover, and Vegapunk, that the world government wants to destroy the world. Maybe that is when Harald flipped the script, right? Because we do know that the school was built 20 years ago, and that does line up with the books of Ohara. So I do think Harald learned something about the Void Century, or learned something about Maurice Ra that he didn't exactly vibe with. That is my guess, and of course it does go along with your theory pretty well. Irene says, I find the idea that Harald maybe was forced to serve the WG, maybe using Harden's missing mom, and they tried to force him to serve them, but he defied them passively by doing all the things they wouldn't want by educating Elbaf so they are not just dumb, mindless brutes that the world government could easily manipulate. I'm reminded of how many years Oimo and Kashi were tricked into serving the world government because they were really taken in by some manipulation. Harald was the first to order a school and a library, I think in defiance of the world government. Yeah, I mean, when you think about how dumb giants generally are, it's pretty crazy, man. Like, it took them this long to build a school? You kidding me? But I like this. Yeah, Harald was maybe forced to do it. Maybe they had some leverage above him. And this could go all the way back to the fact that we don't know where Harden's mom is. Harden was like, yeah, like my mom, she liked King Harald, they had me, and then she was kicked out of the castle. But that's it. Like, is she still here in Elbaf? Is she on a different island? Is she dead? We don't really know. So yeah, maybe they did have some leverage on Harald. Maybe that is why he was forced to work with them. But the one thing about this, though, the whole Harald being forced to serve, that narrative crumples a little bit simply because it seemed like Sommers and Shamrock liked Harald, right? Because when Sommers showed up here, he was like, hey, Shamrock, did you visit King Harald's grave? And then even in this chapter, Sommers made it seem like him and Harald had a nice discussion about raising mercenaries and raising warriors. So, I don't know, that's a tough one. I mean, maybe Harald was playing the long con. Maybe Harald was just really friendly with the world government despite what they're holding over him. But yeah, I think so far, maybe even more so than Loki, Harald is one of the most interesting characters on the island because we just really can't pinpoint what the hell this guy was doing. What were his motivations? Why? Also, nobody's really asking it anymore, but I'm still curious about those damn horns. Like, did he really rip them off because he didn't want to be seen as a violent ancient giant? Or is there more to that story? Like, imagine we come to find out that he didn't rip his horns off willingly and the world government made him kneel and they ripped it off for him. Like something insane like that. Kind of like in Naruto. I don't know if you guys remember Naruto, but there was a Raikage that got resurrected during the 4th Great Ninja War. And he had this crazy scar on his chest that he never talked about. And the whole rumor behind it was that he got that scar from fighting the Gyuki, and that's it. And then we later come to find out that it was an embarrassing story, and instead of him getting it as a battle scar, he actually hurt himself by accident. Maybe it's the same way. Maybe King Harald lied about ripping off his horns, and instead they ripped his off for him, or against his will. I don't know. Like I said, I have no clue with Harald. That's just a fun idea I just thought of right now, but yeah, guy's a freaking mystery, man. This comment says, I love the Yu-Gi-Oh art in these thumbnails. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan. I play Master Duel, I think every day. Yeah, I log in every day. I pop on a couple of games of Master Duel just to get my dailies in. And when it comes to these spoiler thumbnails, it's hard, right? Doing spoiler content on YouTube while trying to be somewhat mindful of other people who don't read spoilers or watch spoilers, I try to be that guy. So I don't want to spoil with the thumbnail image. I'm not going to put, for example, in this chapter, I'm not going to put Gunko regenerating. I'm not going to put Saul dying. You know, I'm not going to put, Usopp killing somebody, for example. Instead, I find a Yu-Gi-Oh card that is somewhat related to the chapter, and I just throw it up there. And if you really look deep into every thumbnail I put out there, in regards to the Yu-Gi-Oh card, there is like at least one tie-in. Like, for this thumbnail, I used Apollosa, if that's how you pronounce her name. I could never get that right. But she's the bow goddess, right? She's a Link 4 monster, bow goddess. She negates your attacks, she negates your effects. And I was like, oh, like bow goddess, Gunko, negate, redirect, boom, there we go. But yeah, I love the Yu-Gi-Oh art, and it's always cool when you guys notice that as well. And sometimes in these videos, I also use Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses background noise, because I also love that game. This comment says, God damn, this chapter is going to be amazing. And yes, it was, brother. I really enjoyed it. Of course, this chapter was very simple, but I think that's what made it so great in a way. We spent, I would say, 90% of this chapter with Gunko fighting the Kallen pirates. And I really love that Oda put so much emphasis on this fight. He really went out of his way to show us what Gunko was capable of. I mean, the choreography with her flipping around, you know, the arrow abilities, everything about Gunko was amazing. And this is coming off of the heels of Oda, you know, back during early Egghead Island. He talked about Gear 5th and how, oh, like, you know, people just love fights and, you know, I want to get more goofy with things. And that's why he drew Gear 5th. And it's like, dude, Oda still has that dog in him, man. If Oda wants to draw a good fight without Gear 5th, he can definitely do it, man. And this chapter definitely proved it, in my opinion. This one says, not gonna lie, Gunko questioning who the Giants will follow makes me believe more the Giants will be subjugated besides the giant pirates and Loki. Also, this really hurts Gunko for ally stocks as well as the traitor Ange stocks. Yeah, Gunko for Nakama, that was always a tough one. The Ange traitor stocks, though, I mean, hey, every stock market has its red days, all I gotta say. Am I crazy for still believing it? Yes, but, you know, a captain goes down with this ship. I'm gonna be saying that Ange is a traitor all the way till the day she dies, brother. But as far as this goes, yes, I do think that the giant warrior pirates, the new giant warrior pirates, and even Loki, I think they will be the ones who try to talk sense to the Elbaf giants. Like, hey guys, I know your kids are captured, but we can't just be subjugated. you know, like, hey, I know your son and daughter is over there at the Holy Land, but we gotta stay strong, man. We gotta rescue them. Let's not work for them. Let's rescue them instead. Because think about the opposite, right? If they do end up working for the world government, they'd honestly just end up fighting innocent people. Because the way Gunko frames it, right? This is going to be a war that engulfs the entire world. The world government and the giants versus everybody else. Like, imagine these sweet, innocent, dumb giants going around killing the people of Alabasta, going around to Whiskey Peak, killing all the pirates. They're like, yeah, that'd be a lot, man. I mean, I get it, right? Their kids are kidnapped. I can't blame them, but that'd be a cursed fate. That would definitely be a cursed fate. I wonder if Killingham can use his hypnosis to put the giant parents asleep and then draw out their own fears as well during this broadcast. I think he could. I think the one hurdle that Killingham would have to overcome is that he'd have to get the giant parents, or giants in general, to think about their worst nightmares though. Like for Ange, right? Ange is the one who assigned the kids to draw their worst nightmares. They had nightmares when they went to sleep, and then Killingham just simply pulled them out into existence. So as far as the giant parents go, they're not actively thinking about nightmares right now. I mean, granted, they're fighting nightmares, so maybe they are. But I think Killingham would have to divert their mind towards that. Like maybe he starts telling a scary story, and then all of a sudden he puts them to sleep, and then he brings out that nightmare. That is what I think he could do. But of course, you know, Sommers is the one who's taking helm in this chapter when we actually get the panels. So next comment, and possibly the last comment as well, Scorpio Luffy says, Luffy isn't about to get active for real until they ask him for help. I mean, yeah, this is typically how it goes. But I do think that when they start broadcasting, when Sommers starts announcing to the world what the heck is going on, maybe that's when Luffy gets into action, like he hears it from above. But I don't know. That's a tough one, because Ange was using that same Denden Mushi a couple chapters back to tell the Western Village what was happening. And of course, Luffy, Loki, Zoro, Sanji in the underworld, they didn't hear any of that. So there is a solid chance that even after the broadcast, because Elbaf is so damn big, Luffy doesn't hear the cries for help. He doesn't hear that the kids are being kidnapped, that Elbaf is in danger, that monsters are running rampant. So I wonder how somebody's going to ask Luffy for help in this scenario. Maybe they see like a tree branch fall. Maybe like black lightning rains from the sky, and that's when Luffy's like, hey, maybe we should go up there, guys. Huh. Because right now, it really seems like they're in lore mode. Like, they're eating, they're talking about the past, you know, Loki and Harald are having their brotherly spat right now. It feels like an entirely different genre down there in the freaking underworld, man. Alright, so now for the last comment, it is my comment, but I did say that there was no Italian AI brain rot today, sadly, but it will be back tomorrow, or the next spoiler drop. So people were wondering what the hell I was talking about, like what is the lore behind this? And there's not really any lore. I saw this right here. Somebody said, oh, I think it's a reference to that Italian troll named I Am Oda who keeps reposting on Facebook the same old fake spoilers. I don't know who this is. So Italian AI brain rot, I just wanted to clear the air, but it is simply just that. It is Italian AI brain rot.
Anzini, bananini, wah, wah, wah. Bananucci, monkey, 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 uchi.
So it's been a trend in the past week, and it's a really dumb trend, but I have a 5-year-old sense of humor. But essentially, they take two random things, mix them together, give them an Italian name, and just throw it out there. I mean, there's Patapim, there's Cappuccino Assassino, Trippy Troppy, Tralaleo Tralala, like Liddy La, like there's a lot of them out there, and it's just so stupid, but I really enjoy it. And the video prior to this one, I threw a couple of those images in between the spoiler points, and it confused a lot of people. You know, that was one of those moments that really woke me up, and I was like, damn, not everybody knows AI brain rot. You know, maybe that's for the best, though. Maybe that's for the best. But yes, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining me for the post-game video. I really freaking appreciate it, as per usual. Thank you for spending your time here. And, yeah. There's no break next week, so we will be back for 11:47 spoilers ASAP. And thank you guys for being here and commenting. I don't really know what else to say other than thank you. Peace out, brother.